Well, it's been a long off-season without the footy, but we're back into it. And one man who's ready for his first touch of the football in 2024 for the Billy Slater Podcast, thanks to Ram Trucks, is the Queensland coach and league legend himself. Hello, Billy.
Yeah, g'day, Levy. It's good to be back, mate. I've missed you over the summer.
Mate, I've missed you too. So much excitement, though, about this rugby league season. And, there's only so much tennis and cricket we can talk about. I mean, I want to know what you got up to in the off-season. I saw you at the Magic Millions. You've been surfing with the young bloke, just taking it a bit easy with the family, eh?
Yeah, life's been pretty good for myself in the off-season. I hang around with some horses, get in the wave pool in the ocean, spend a bit of time up on the Gold Coast for the Magic Millions. So, yeah, it's been busy but very enjoyable. But I'm looking forward to the footy getting back on and kicks off with a bang this weekend, doesn't it?
Certainly does. You've been to the United States, so I've never been to America, so I can't wait to get over to Las Vegas. And as someone who likes a punt and a good time, I'm a little nervous considering I've got to call 2 games of football. But what are your thoughts on Vegas and rugby league showcasing itself to the world? It's exciting, that's for sure.
Yeah, I love the fact that we're ambitious in our game, and Peter V'landys is heading that to take our game over to the United States and see if they have an attraction for what we can deliver. I'm sure they will. If the more eyes that we can get on our game, the better. And I think if we can hit that American market and get some eyes on our product, we've got the right teams over there, the right players over there. So hopefully we can get an entertaining game of football, and I'm sure it'll be pretty exciting for the American people.
You've played in some of the best stadiums around the world. We got a look at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas for the Super Bowl, won by, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs. It looks like a magnificent facility. What a thrill for these players who are going to get to play on it.
The players that are going over in these 4 teams, they'll be buzzing, and they'll go over there to adapt to the time difference and adapt to the different climates and get all organised for the game and their preparation. But they'll be buzzing. It'll be a real, well, not a novelty, but it'll be something different. Everyone's excited about playing round 1 anyway, but to do it in Las Vegas, all eyes will be on them, and they're holding the flag for our game. So I'm sure there's a little bit of pressure that comes with that, but I'm sure the players will be extremely excited. A lot of the players these days follow a lot of the NFL and the basketball and that sort of stuff. So they're fans of the American sports, and they're entrenched in it over there. I see vision of the players on all the media streams over in the United States. They're going to the basketball games, but come Sunday, they'll be looking forward to putting our product forward into the American market, and I look forward to watching them.
Well, just on that, Billy, a bloke you've had a bit to do with, Reece Walsh, is in the paper today saying that he's going to re-sign with the Broncos. He loves the club, but one day he'd like to test himself and try to make it in the NFL. Do you like hearing our players say those things, challenging themselves, or would you prefer them, because we're rugby league men, to focus their attention on the NRL? What are your thoughts?
I think it's great to be ambitious, and to be honest, Mark, I don't see it's my place to tell people what to do with their life. If someone's got an ambition to go and test themselves in the NFL or test themselves at golf or want to go and pursue another occupation, that's the one thing that we do have control of as individuals is we get to choose what we do with our time in our life. And if someone's got ambitions to do something other than play our game, I'm all for it. So he's a wonderful athlete, Reece, and he's obviously got some options in front of him when he wants to choose to do that. But at the moment, like you said, he wants to be at the Broncos, and he's doing pretty well there at the moment.
You'd be a brave man doubting anything Reece Walsh does, because, as you've touched on, Billy, a great athlete, and everything he's touched over the last couple of years has turned to gold.
Well, he's worked pretty hard at that. It hasn't just come to him. I've seen firsthand how hard these individuals work on their game, and especially the young players. Sometimes we forget that they're only 21 years old, Reece Walsh, and the likes of Ezra Mam has just turned 21 recently. So they're very young individuals, and as soon as they start playing to a standard or to a standard of their talent, we expect them to rise to that all the time. But Like I said, they're still relatively inexperienced, and over time and over consistency, they'll build that into their game. So, they're wonderful players, and like I said, we've got the right players over there to showcase our game.
One thing I'd love your thoughts on is the dimensions of the field in Las Vegas, because the width of the field isn't going to be its usual. It's going to be a narrower field than normal. Now, we've got 13 players on each side of the field, and that's going to take the gaps in between them and take some out. So they're going to be a lot more compressed. Are we still going to see the attacking flair that makes rugby league so exciting, or is this going to make it more of a defensive game because those gaps are going to be harder to find for the respective teams out there on the weekend?
Yeah, I think it'll help the defence, not having as much width in the field. And I played half of my career on Olympic Park, which was a couple of metres more narrow than a normal rugby league field. The in goals were really small as well, so there might be a few different tactics on last play, whether you run the football or instead of trying to thread it through for a repeat set. But I think once the players get into the game, the fatigue is what creates the space anyway. So if they play the style of football that is up tempo and the ball's in play a lot, that'll create fatigue in the game. Therefore, the spaces will be there. It will help the defence, no doubt, that it's a little bit more narrow than a normal rugby league field. But if they play the right style of football, the spaces will come.
All right, that's the footy component out of the way. Now, you're a coach these days, as well as a commentator. And I know you said that you don't like telling people what they can and can't do, but I reckon the coaches will be sitting the players down and saying, boys, we're in Vegas. There's got to be some rules. I mean, I've already had one of my colleagues, Mark Piggy Riddell, on the phone to me saying, Levy, I've booked us a VIP table at Ludacris. I said, what does she sing? He said, it's a bloke. I said, I've got to call 2 games of football. I shan't be attending that concert. But there are going to have to be some serious conversations with the players, isn't there?
Well, there needs to be a responsibility within the players. Like, they're young men, and the position that they hold comes with some responsibility. So, look, I don't know. Everyone's different. Some people like making rules. Some people like having curfews and all this sort of stuff. To be fair, it's probably a discussion within the playing group, a discussion within your senior players, because at the end of the day, they drive the standards. I don't know. Everyone's got different views on policies around that sort of behaviour. I'm a big believer in once you're in a position, you need to respect that position, and if you disrespect the position, you probably don't deserve it.
Yeah, fair enough too. Well, that's Vegas out of the way, and we'll lock in your preseason predictions a little later in the podcast. But over the weekend, a game of football involving the Penrith Panthers and the Wigan Warriors, the World Club Challenge. The Australian teams haven't had a lot of luck in these games of late. Some controversial refereeing decisions, and I swore to myself watching it on Sunday whilst on Nine's Wide World of Sports that I won't complain about refereeing this year. But World Club Challenge, boy, I was throwing things at the television with some of the things that happened. But well done to Wigan. They claim the World Club Challenge, 16-12 over the NRL Premiers, the Panthers.
Yeah, when you go over to a different country and you've got a different referee that plays at a different interpretations and that sort of stuff, you've got to expect that. And I'm sure the Panthers will be sitting there going, well, will we let it get that close? I thought the Wigan Warriors were outstanding, to be honest. I thought they played a really aggressive style of football, and they really took it to the Panthers. They didn't let the Penrith Panthers' reputation get in the road of their performance. And I thought at the end of the day, they deserved the victory. The Panthers, they still played their style of football. They still played that field position game, and they won the majority of the field position game, but they just couldn't score enough points. And is that a reflection of the amount of quality that they've lost over the last 2 seasons? There's a lot of good players and a lot of creativity. So be interesting to see if that continues into the NRL season, or Jerome Luai coming back into the fold. It adds another dimension and takes a bit of responsibility off Nathan Cleary and Isaiah Yeo. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because this time last year we were saying the same thing, where they just couldn't get the job done in the early season World Club Challenge, but they still went on to win the competition.
Well, you mentioned Jerome Luai's name there. That was one of the big off-season stories, wasn't it? The decision to sign with the West Tigers. And, a lot of people question that press conference he held where he sat there with a bit of bling on and just answered the questions. But I liked what he did, Billy, because he removed the need for the journos to ask the questions throughout this year where he's committed to the Panthers. And I think good luck to him. He wants to go and challenge himself. He wants to be the main man at the West Tigers. He'll get that opportunity. But first and foremost, he wants to win another comp with the Penrith Panthers this year.
Yeah, he's got another opportunity to be there. And look, it's hard to begrudge anyone that moves on. Our game is designed so the salary cap comes in. The successful teams can't stay together. We've seen it time and time again. And, the Panthers are going through it now to obviously hold that standard and continually find that success through this last 3-year period is phenomenal, because they've lost a couple to 3 or 4 good players every year. They did it again last year, and they'll do it again at the end of this year with Jerome Luai moving on. For them to continually find players like Isaac Tungor, Sunia Taruva, and these players that continually come through and fill these voids, and all of a sudden they're household names in the Penrith team. That's what they'll have to keep doing, because now the salary cap does this. And now I don't mind Jerome Luai putting it to bed in the off season. He can really focus on his football now. Of course, there's going to be conversation around the Tigers throughout the year, but he's said his piece. He can move on and just play his football now.
And I know last year you and I spoke about Benji taking over the reins at the West Tigers. That's the other talking point, I suppose, leading into 2024. Some of the coaches who are getting their opportunity and are back in the coaching ranks. You've got Shane Flanagan. He's back calling the shots, this time at St George Illawarra. You've got Des Hasler, the mad scientist at the Gold Coast Titans, and then someone like Benji, who was and he is a rugby league legend for his ability on the field, but he's now teaching the players or mentoring the players in a way at the West Tigers. So that's the other storyline we've got to look forward to leading into this season as well.
Yeah, I love it. I really like the aspect of Benji Marshall coaching the West Tigers. I think Robbie Farah's assisting him as well. And to have the fabric of the organisation, the fabric of the footy club involved in coaching the next generation of Tigers is really important. He doesn't just have a great football brain, Benji, but he's lived and breathed this club for half his life, and it's really important to him. He's been at the top there when they won their premiership back in 2005, and I really think that he can push the club in the right direction. So to have a young star of our game, a young coach come in and want to have that aspirations to lead our game forward and lead his club forward, I think it's only a positive thing.
Yeah, good luck to you, Benji, and good luck to all of the West Tigers fans who have been long-suffering. Hopefully this is a light at the end of the tunnel and they can turn the corner this year. The Broncos win the 2024 preseason challenge. They were fantastic in the trials, just on the trials. And I've heard some people, some former rugby league players say maybe the trials are not needed anymore. How much weight do the clubs give to these trials, and do they take them seriously, Bill, or is it an opportunity for them to blood a few of the young players that they may use later in the year?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I think the trials are considered more serious now than what they were 15, 20 years ago. They were basically a fitness run 20 years ago, whereas now there's spots on the line and there's opportunities. I still remember it was the trials period that I got my opportunity to showcase what I could do, and that earned me a jersey in round one, and that really kickstarted my career. So, you get a lot of young guys and inexperienced guys get opportunities through the trials, but you also get opportunity to get match fitness, and we've seen that especially on the weekend there was pretty much full strength sides, going out there and playing for a period of 20 minutes or 40 minutes, a full half. But yeah, look, I like the concept of having a bit of a challenge and there's a prize for the best team, but I don't see clubs actually focusing on that at a whole heap. but the quality of football, and even if you ask the players, you train for 3 or 4 months and you're looking for a game of footy. So, I think it's still important because if we just rolled straight into round one, you wouldn't have the opportunity to get conditioned over a 20-minute period. You'd have to jump into an 80-minute game.
Yep, gotcha. One last one before we take a little breather and lock in your preseason questions, predictions, and ask you a few questions from our listeners. I can't believe it's February and I'm asking you an Origin question, but there has been a change to your coaching structure for this year with Cameron Smith deciding to step away. Matt Ballin comes into the fold, a great Queenslander himself. Can you take us through what's happened there and how you think Matty Ballin will go as an assistant under your watch?
Yeah, so Cam's obviously moving on and won't be a part of the Queensland State of Origin coaching team this year. He's taking up some higher honours. I think it's the under-15s coach of the Currumbin Eagles. So good luck to him there.
Super Coach Smith, eh?
Super Coach Cam. But look, I'm really grateful and pleased for what Cam has been able to bring to this Queensland group over the last couple of years, and that's something that I don't hold lightly. I really appreciate what he's been able to implement into not just the team but individuals within the team. He's done a fantastic job, and like his playing days, it's really hard to replace a guy like Cameron Smith. But we do get someone with different qualities, and Matt Ballin's had a different journey to Cam over the last period that he's finished playing. He's got aspirations to be a coach, and I think one day that he'll fulfill those aspirations in the NRL. Currently works full time at the Broncos as an assistant coach, and that's going to bring different strengths to our team, but also our coaching team. The qualities that Josh Hannay brings to our coaching team as a full-time coaching member of the Sharks, he brings those qualities to the Queensland State of Origin system, and Matt Ballin's gonna do something similar, and we'll focus on a different area to Josh, but really looking forward to working alongside Matt. He's got 100% strike rate as a player for Queensland, and I played in that game alongside Matty, so hopefully he can continue that record.
100% record as a Queenslander. I mean, this is what's wrong with you Queenslanders. I mean, one falls by the wayside.
You asked the question, mate. You asked the question.
Hey, it's your podcast. I just asked the questions. But I got 2 words for you, Michael Maguire. My man Madge is back. New South Wales. Go.
He's a good man, Madge.
Anyway, good luck. It's going to be a great season. We've got so much footy to look forward to. And, of course, the State of Origin series with Billy as coach of Queensland. Well, Billy, let's run through some of your pre-season predictions, how you think 2024 will shape up. What we might do is whip through these teams and get a quick comment from you, because knowing the enormous amount of people that listen to your podcast, I'm sure we've got people who follow each and every one of the teams involved in the competition this year. Let's get a quick comment off you, starting off with the Canterbury Bulldogs, a long list of solid signings and a new-look team with Stephen Crichton taking over as captain this year.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Stephen Crichton hasn't played a game for the Bulldogs just yet and has been named captain. Now, I think Reid Marnie got that honour last year in a similar position. Hadn't played a game for the club and was named one of the captains of the club. Look, I'm a believer if you want change, you've got to do things different. And I like the fact that Cameron Ciraldo is looking outside the box. How can we improve? What's the best makeup and the best formula for our side moving forward? Stephen Crichton, although I haven't had a lot to do with him personally, everything I've seen from Stephen Crichton looks of quality. First and foremost, his performances on the field are exceptional. He's if not the best centre in the game. He's in the top handful. So I think he's right up there, arguably the best centre in the game, defensively sound, and does a lot of the good things in and around his preparation. So he's going to lead by example, that's for sure. So I can't see anything wrong with him leading the Bulldogs. They've got a whole heap of signings and a lot of quality ones. The biggest question mark is probably their number 7. Do they go with Drew Hutchison or do they go with Toby Sexton? So that's probably one thing that Cameron Ciraldo needs to work out and give that time to blossom. But you'd like to think that they're on the rise. I don't know if they'll play finals, but I think they'll improve on what they did last year.
All right, let's whip through the clubs. We go to the Broncos, obviously desperate to avenge what happened in the grand final, that loss to Penrith. They still have a star-studded side.
They certainly do lose a bit of quality in Capewell, Flegler, Herbie Farnworth, and Palacia has gone down to the Gold Coast. So you've got to fill those voids, but you would like to think the quality of players that they remain at the club will be better players from what they went through last year.
What about the Cowboys, Bill? Probably one of the disappointments last year for a lot of people. A lot of people had the Cowboys featuring deep into the finals, but they obviously had that dramatic slide in 2023. Your assessment of them this year?
Yeah, really disappointing year last year for the Cowboys. Finished 11th, and like you mentioned, didn't play finals last year, and had a great season in 2022. So they need to find it within themselves. Haven't bought a whole heap. Although Thomas McKaylee was a standout on the weekend in their trial, I thought he was exceptional. So he'll add another big body through that middle of the field, but they've got to find it within because they do have the quality in their roster.
We go to the Dolphins. Wayne Bennett's last year in charge before Mr. Wolf takes over. Herbie Farnworth's a name you've already mentioned. They've also got Tom Flegler and Jake Averillo joining the Dolphins this year.
Yeah, quality signings, and I think they're going to go through a growth period again. The one thing they don't have this year that they had last year is it was their inaugural season, and they really hit the ground running. They had a couple of surprise victories early in the year, and then they fought their way, got a few injuries, and they slid down the ladder a little bit. But they won't have that emotion attached to the start of their season this year, so they got to generate that themselves. But with the likes of Flegler, Herbie Farnworth, they're quality people, they're quality players, and they'll help their club move forward.
The rebuild's begun at St George Illawarra under Shane Flanagan. I suppose one of the talking points around the Red V this year is the new halves combination of Ben Hunt and Kyle Flanagan.
Yeah, and it looks to have worked really well through the trial period. The one thing that the Dragons have is they have a whole heap of physicality. They're a physical football team. With the football, they run hard. They've got these big outside backs, Zach Lomax, Sully on one edge, and they're Jack Bird's playing in the centres. So they've got centres the size of middle forwards, and they're a physical team. If you don't bring your shoulder pads and your courage and everything like that when you play the Dragons, they'll beat you up. And, I think that's their strength. And then you've got tenacious competitors like Ben Hunt and halves, and I think it can work. Anything can work as long as you commit to it. And at the moment, the Dragons look like they're committing to their football program. They're committing to their plan that their coach is setting out. And if they continue to do that, I think they can be the real team on the rise. They finished second last year, and they can push their way into the top 8 if they continue that form.
I've had a few conversations with Shane Flanagan in the off-season, and he says, they've all bought in. They've been training really well, so he's really encouraged by what he's seen. I will say this, though, it hasn't taken him long for him to become cranky, Shane, again. Just must be something when you become
Sometimes
an NRL
that works
again.
Too.
You're not cranky, though. You're always smiling.
No. Like I said, there's different ways to do things, Mark. And
we move to the Parramatta Eels. Gee whiz, you talk about disappointing. I mean, we often hear about the premiership drought for Parramatta, and they didn't play finals last year. Brad Arthur, not too many changes to the side this year, so he's going to have to get them up and going again, won't he?
Yeah, and you don't need changes when you've got a quality team like Parramatta. You look at their key position players, in particular their halves. Mitchell Moses and Dylan Brown. I think Dylan Brown's in for a big season. He looks like he's had a really good summer. He looks nice and fit through the trials, and I think he can really elevate his game to the next level. And if he does that, they can be right there when the whips are cracking. They were a couple of years ago, and there's no reason why they can't turn it around. Like you mentioned, disappointing last year, didn't play finals, but you'd expect them to have aspirations of being a top 4 team.
Newcastle Knights, plenty of promising signs last year, season 2023, and I don't know about you, Bill, but watching them in the trials, I don't think I've ever seen them look bigger, fitter, and stronger in my life. The Knights might be a little sneaky chance of going deep into the finals this year. What say you, mate?
Well, if they can replicate that form that they showed at the back end of last year, where they strung a whole heap of games together to make the finals, and then that allows the likes of Kalen Ponga to shine. They've got 3 to go into 2. That's Cogger, Gamble, and Hastings, all fighting for 2 halves positions, and that decision will be integral to where they go this year and who's going to lead them. Is it Jackson Hastings at halfback, or is it young Cogger coming from the Panthers, who I thought was exceptional in the grand final last year, did a great job, and just pushed Nathan Cleary out a little bit wider to find him a bit more space. But yeah, they showed that they can do it, and they just need to go and re-get that, and they can do it again. So yeah, they're a team for me that just sit around that bottom half of the 8, maybe even outside it if they don't get it quite right.
We go to the Panthers, the reigning premiers. It's never been done in the modern era. The potential of them claiming the premiership for the 4th year in a row. They're a mighty club, aren't they?
They're a champion club. I think they've earned that tag, and you'd be a brave man to back against them, continuing their runner. The one question mark I do have is you continue to lose quality, and all of a sudden quality will fall out of your game. I don't doubt that the fabric of their game and the foundation of their game will still be there. I don't even doubt the hunger will be at any less of a level. But when you take the quality out, and all of a sudden you're just not finishing off like you were a year or 2 ago, and there's more pressure on the Nathan Clearys and Isaiah Yoes and Dylan Edwards, and that's the biggest question mark for the Panthers. But certainly not going to sit here and say that they're going to slide too far down the ladder.
Give me some good news for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, please, Billy. Jack Whiten, he joins the fold. Latrell Mitchell looks happy. He looks fit. How are the Bunnies going this year?
Well, as long as they put the wheels back on that fell off at the end of last year, they'll be okay. Because
don't remind me.
if you look at their best 17, they're a fantastic side. They're a side to push for the premiership. But it just shows you've got to have your on-field, your off-field, everyone glued into what you're about and pulling in the same direction. And that showed that if you don't have that, the wheels can fall off last year. So they're a good side. You put Jack Whiten in any team, it's going to be a better team. And I like the fact that he's looking at playing in the centres. He's a big physical body. He loves all those things that a centre does: kick, chase, defence. He loves tackling. So that's a positive signing. And you've still got the cream in the team. You've got Latrell Mitchell, Cody Walker, Lachlan Ilias is another 12 months older. He's had another preseason under his belt. Damien Cook's still there playing good football. So they've got the ingredients. They've just got to go and make the cake now.
What about the Green Machine, the Raiders, the team down in the nation's capital? Zach Hosking joins them from the Panthers. Of course, they bowed out in week 1 of the finals last year, Canberra. Ricky Stewart's men.
Yeah, well, I've just said you put Jack Whiten in any team and it's going to be a better team. You take him out of any team and it's not going to be as strong. And I can't see where they've replaced Jack Whiten. They're going to go through a growth period. The Raiders, the one thing that Ricky Stewart does do really well is he galvanizes his team. He's got a really tough group of men down there that buy in and bind together. They played finals last year. I'm not quite sure that they'll play finals again this year. Just on the surface, things can happen throughout the year, and players can step up. I thought Ethan Strange was a real standout playing in at halfback. I'd only seen him play in the centres, but he's a guy that's really jumped out of the ground. Who knows, in 24 months' time or 3 years' time, this transition period might be the best thing for the Raiders. So might give some young guys a chance that may not have got a chance if other people stayed.
From the Raiders, we go to the Roosters. Now, one of the big off-season recruits for them, Spencer Lenier, who comes over from the Panthers. Of course, he had that little brouhaha with Jared Bria-Hargreaves last year. Apparently, they're all best of mates these days now that they're teammates. Your thoughts on the Roosters, Bill?
Yeah, the Roosters, this time last year, I thought the Roosters could win the Premiership, and they could have. They didn't have a great year. They played finals, finished seventh. Um, you add Spencer Leniu, and don't forget Dominic Young is at the
Yeah.
club as well. I think he's got a bit of an issue with his neck at the moment, but he was exceptional last year for the Knights. And you throw those two quality players in and amongst what they already have, wow, they've got some sort of footy list, and if they can play anywhere near to their potential, it's a big year for Sam Walker and Luke Keary to build that combination. James Tedesco's in there as well. They've got great key position players, but the quality out wide with Joey Manu, Suoli'i, there's no chink in their armor. If they can get it right and Trent Robinson builds this game, they're as good as any. They're as dangerous as any, and their their list is as quality as any in the club in the competition. Sorry.
There's one bloke I really hope has a big year this year, and he's copped his fair share of criticism throughout his career. He makes the move from the Tigers over to the Manly Sea Eagles. Luke Brooks into the halves with Daly Cherry Evans. Gee, I hope he has a big year, Luke, this year.
Well, it's probably the first time that he's actually played with a halfback that will really take control. Daly's got an exceptional kicking game, so Luke doesn't have to do that. He can jump in here and there and kick when there's space in front of him. So that'll give him an opportunity to find the ground more and have more quality about his kicking game. And then he can just go and play football. He's a great ball runner, Luke Brooks. I think it's probably the greatest strength of his game is his running game, and I think playing alongside Daly Cherry Evans, that'll help him. You get Tom Trebojevic firing, and all of a sudden you've got some ammunition outside you as well. I think it's a really good move for Luke Brooks just to cut ties with where he'd been for such a long period of time and so much attention around him. I think it can just free him up and allow him to play football, because it's strange saying this, but if he can get back to anywhere near his debut game, his debut game was exceptional. It looked like he didn't have a worry in the world. He was just playing footy as free as can be, and that's what he needs to aim to do.
Good luck to you, Luke, if you're listening to the Billy Slater podcast. Off to the Sharks.
Oh, he listens.
They all listen, mate. They all listen. Oh, I ran into a few people in the off-season. They said, it's Billy's podcast coming. I said, yeah, the great man will be back. Sharks, they only just scraped into the finals. Of course, they've lost a couple of leaders, namely Wade Graham, who's happily in retirement these days. Thoughts on the Sharkies?
Yeah, the Sharks over the last couple of years, they really got a lift from Craig Fitzgibbon taking over as coach. So you could really see that defensive resolve, and then they played this style of football that was exciting as well. And Nico Hines at the club, it was a really good transition. They need to go to that next level. The last couple of years, they've just struggled to play against the top sides, and then they've really struggled to win those big games at the end of the year in the finals. So that'll be their growth moving forward in 2024. Probably starts with themselves. They've got to believe it. They've got to believe that they're the best team in the competition. If they don't believe they're the best team in the competition, that they'll sit in this period where they'll be competitive, and then they'll just be sort of mediocrity. But if they can transition that mental mindset to be, we're the best team in the competition, we're going to go after it. That's what I think will change their mindset.
To the Melbourne Storm we go. Craig Bellamy is always a force to be reckoned with, teams that he coaches. Wasn't it good to see Ryan Pappenhausen back in the trials?
Yeah, it was. It's good to see Ryan Pappenhausen with a smile on his face playing the game he loves. And he's such a talented player that we need the likes of Ryan Pappenhausen out on the field. And, it's I've seen firsthand him go through all this adversity and that he's faced, not just the last 6 months, but the 18 months before that, and the 12 months before that as well. So he's gone through a fair bit, Ryan, and he's come through the other side. And if we build resilience from going through adversity, he's going to be one resilient human being by the end of his career. And I just hope he gets a good run of luck and gets some time on the field, because he's already showing the quality of play that he showed before he got injured. And hopefully he can string a few games together, build that match fitness. And he's like a new recruit at the Melbourne Storm. They haven't really had him over the last couple of years. And if, the likes of Cameron Munster, Jerome Hughes, Harry Grant, they all fire, well, he's going to be the beneficiary of that.
All right, let's fly through the last three. Titans, what sort of an impact will Des Hasler have on the Gold Coast side?
It's interesting. I think they bought Des Hasler to create more mental toughness in their football team, and by the sounds of it, that through the training that has occurred. But it's who plays halfback? Is it Tanner Boyd? Young Tom Weaver's there as well. He's shifted AJ Brimson out to the centres, which I think is a positive move. We saw some glimpses of positivity around that move on the weekend. Young Jaden Campbell's coming back into the fullback position. So he's got this football team that there's a lot of quality there. There's a lot of good players, and it's just putting it all together and just creating this mental toughness within the organisation that we're not just going to make the numbers up anymore. So I don't think Des has that in his in his system. I think he's dead set a guy that thrives with people around him that want to succeed, and I think they're going to be a better club for him being involved.
Absolutely. Warriors, Andrew Webster's done a fantastic job since he was employed as head coach. They were one of the great success stories in 2023. Can they back it up this year, Bill?
Yes, they can. From what I've seen in the trials, they're playing equally to what they finished off last year, and Sean Johnson, he holds the key to them. I think he had a tremendous season last year, and I think he can back that up. They've got some great recruits. I think Kurt Capel's a wonderful recruit. He'll uphold standards. So he'll love the system that they're playing in. Chanel Harris Tavita will be back, and also their former captain and Dally M medalist and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. And I think that's a wonderful inclusion. So I think they're the ones on the rise.
And to finish up here, the West Tigers. I mean, we've touched on Benji Marshall. He gets his opportunity as coach. He's got some club legends alongside him, like Robbie Farah. But what about the team itself? Is the team itself capable of who knows, challenging for some finals footy this year, or is it going to take them some time?
Everyone's capable. I think it'll be a growth period for the Tigers. They're certainly making some changes to change where they've been. If you don't change, you can't expect changes in your results, and they're certainly doing that. From what I've seen throughout the trials, and I think they'll grow as a football club. I don't have them playing finals, but again, that's up to them. It's not up to me sitting here telling them whether they're going to play finals or not. That's the great thing about our game. And they picked up Justin Olam, who's a quality centre. He's a premiership player, and the more of those players you can filter in and around these young stars, they're going to be a better team. Dream Buller looks like he's kicked on. He's had a really good off season. Geez, he moves well, and they're the players that they've got to build this team around.
All right, 2024 season predictions. Who are your premiers for 2024, Bill?
Well, if I sit here and say the Storm, everyone's going to say I'm biased. I think the Storm can win the comp. I'm going to say the Broncos, but
okay. So
I'm going to say Broncos Storm grand final.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So there's your premier and there's your runner-up.
All right. But you think Storm?
I'm taking your question. Sorry, mate.
Storm will think will win the comp.
Oh, they can win the comp. Yeah, absolutely.
They will win the comp?
I don't know. That's up to them.
I'm trying.
I don't
know. Who's your Dally M winner?
My Dally M winner is Sean Johnson.
Yeah.
I think the Warriors are going to have a really consistent year, and I think he's going to star like he did last year. And he's got a bit more firepower outside him in Roger Tuivasa-Sheck this year as well. So,
what about your improvers, your biggest improvers for 2024?
Yeah, I think St. George will be the biggest improvers. Like I mentioned before, they finished second last on the ladder last year, and that's quite disappointing. Change of coach, Shane Flanagan taking over. They just look like a real hard physical team. And if they can sustain that and get a bit of success off the back of that early in the year, they'll really thrive. So the Dragons are the big improvers for me.
Player you are most excited to watch this season?
Yeah, I just mentioned him before. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. I love what he brings to our game. He seems like a really good person, and he's a wonderful athlete. He was our best player in our competition only 5 years ago. I think 2018 he won the Dally M medal. But he comes back in a different position, and from what I've seen over the trial period, he's going to excel in that position. So, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, looking forward to watching him play.
All right, we're going to put all them in the vault, bring them back out,
okay.
Grand final week, see how you've gone, okay?
All right.
There they are, Billy Slater's season 2024 predictions. And as we'll do this year, we'll finish up with our listener questions. If you've got a question you'd like to put to Bill, all you need to do is send us an email, billyslaterpodcast at 9.com.au. billyslaterpodcast at 9.com.au. And yes, we were up all night thinking of the email address for this podcast. Let's get into it. Mick's going to kick us off. Billy, good to have you back. Is the appointment of Stacey Jones as Kiwis coach over Wayne Bennett a good decision? I see it as a long-term plan. That question from Mick.
Well, I don't see it as a bad decision. I think Stacey Jones has been involved in the New Zealand team over the last little bit, and he certainly earned the opportunity to put his name in the ring. And the one thing he will bring, he'll bring a bit of passion playing for your country. That's one thing Stacey Jones will bring. He's done it there before. He's pulled on that black jersey, and he knows a lot about that. So I don't think there's a wrong decision in those two men. But I can't see that being a poor decision, bringing Stacey Jones in to lead your country.
All right, we'll finish off with this one. It's got nothing to do with rugby league, so I think you'll like this one.
Okay.
And you've got a daughter.
Right.
Hi, Billy. Question from left field. Are you a Swiftie? Have you been caught up in the Taylor hype? I feel like you'd bust out a couple of Taylor songs at karaoke. Anyway, go Queensland from Chloe.
Well, karaoke is certainly not a strength of mine. I haven't been caught up in the Tay-Tay, as they call it, but
the Tay-Tay.
Yeah, no, it's hard to miss. She's absolutely everywhere, and to sell 3 MCGs out in 3 consecutive nights, it's phenomenal. But no, I haven't been caught up.
The thing that I've sort of marvelled at with this whole Taylor Swift thing is how she's been able to unite all of these young girls, young boys, just the younger generation. And Billy, if I'm just sort of thinking about you, one thing that's struck me about you over the years I've worked with you is the positive way in which you view things. You're always trying to find the positive in things, which is why I sort of steer away from asking you about, who's going to be the sliders, who's going to finish as the wooden spooners. She's just so positive. She just wants everyone to be happy and to live life in a positive way. And for that, I think she should be applauded. Tay-Tay. We should have gone to the concert.
She won the Super Bowl too, didn't she?
She what, sorry?
She won the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, with Travis, her man Trav. Maybe we should stick to football.
I think Tay-Tay listens to this podcast too.
Does she?
G'day, Taylor.
She'll be listening on a private jet on the way home. Taylor, we are never, ever, ever. Get it? I'll tell you what, you'd hate to be an ex-boyfriend.
Oh.
Hey, Trav, stick with Taylor, otherwise there'll be a whole new album coming out at your expense. Billy, wonderful to be back for 2024. You're a genius. Look forward to seeing you on Nine's Wide World of Sports. You'll have the games covered in Las Vegas, of course, and we'll be there with the continuous call team on 2GB Sydney and 4BC in Brisbane. And it's great to have Ram Trucks because they eat everything else for breakfast back on board as sponsors of this podcast. And keep an eye out for us Monday afternoons when the podcast drops, which is the lingo that both Jordan and Maddie tell me. The podcast drops on a Monday afternoon. Bill, enjoy the footy this weekend and we'll catch you next week.
Good to be back. See you next week.
There he is, Billy Slater, the Queensland coach, rugby league legend. This is the Billy Slater Podcast, thanks to Ram Trucks. And we finish today by saying, Viva Las Vegas.